to the, what's today, August 15th, is that right? August 15th session on love and accountability. And we've been talking a lot the last, gosh, I guess we're pushing 18, 19 months of this. And last year we kind of focused on leadership mostly, went through 4 different books, talked about leadership overall, but we went through the dog poop initiative, the energy bus, the way of the shepherd, and the power of positive team. This year we shifted to a little more discussions on more on wow experiences, customer service. How can we improve that overall experience? And the books we've reviewed were Raving Fans, The $6,000 Egg, The Simple Truths of Service. And so for the rest of the year, or at least for the next few sessions, maybe through the end of the year, we're going to try to dive a little deeper into some of these discussions and concepts on wow experience, Raving Fans, the Sundown Rule, just to try to take a deeper dive to make sure we all understand, man, what are the expectations? What are we trying to accomplish here on a day-to-day basis? And it kind of starts with some of our core values. And I know we've heard talk about our core values a lot. Everything that entire list ties into pretty much everything we've talked about for the last year and a half. But what is the point? Why have core values? What's the purpose? What are we trying to accomplish with the fact that we do even have core values? Yeah, right before I brought that up, I think Mark Benton said this exact thing. I like the concept and the visual of guardrails. And I stole this from leadership study that we do in our F3 group. But what's the purpose of guardrails? In essence, is to keep you out of the ditch. I think it's, you could get into a little more discussion than that, but that is in essence what guardrails are for when you're in your vehicle. And I think it's the same for core values, for any type of guidelines, standards. It should be, the guardrails help us keep us in line on how do we behave and what do we do day to day? What are the expectations for our interactions with each other, with our customers, with the community? How do we treat others? How do we make decisions? And then, can I make decisions? When you're out dealing with our customers and with each other, do you feel like you have to go ask somebody to make decisions? And these are 5 short questions, but this does lead us to the purpose of having core values, having any type of standards, any type of guidelines when we're going about our day-to-day business, and what are the expectations for the interactions we have here at GSM. So when we talk about, if we look at those 20 core values and we try to break them out into the ones that really focus on wow experiences or customer service or interactions, there's two things jump out. We don't have the actual phrase wow experiences in our core values, but we do have the phrase exceed customer expectations. We really didn't have that phrase on top of our mind, wow experiences, when we developed these core values. I don't know how many years ago it was now, 15 years ago or whenever we did that. But the related core value definitely exceed customer expectations is what that. So what does that mean, to exceed customer expectations or to create wow experiences? Now, in the part of the world that I live in, on the home service side, it's really not, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for us, it's actually not that hard. If you have dealt with a home service type company or dealt with that industry, whether it's stuff that we do, a plumber, an electrician, a residential roofer, a landscaper, a guttering company. If you've had any experience in that world in the past, I don't know, I would say 10 to 15 years or especially lately, it's not real good. The expectations aren't very high. If you ask enough people, I think you'll get more troubling experiences described to you, then you will get good experiences. I know I've got several that I could talk about. And so it's not really that hard. And what we've learned over the years, speaking of core values and the expectations of consumers in general, consumers really only want three things. And if you've been here long enough, you've heard me say this. If you ever said an orientation, I talk about this. But if you've been here long enough, some of the surveys we've done, some of the national surveys that have been done, customers are only really looking for three things. They're looking for quality work. They're looking for us to do what we say we are going to do when we say we are going to do it. In fact, that's two core values listed right there. It's three sentences, but it's two separate core values. And yeah, we knew this when we developed these core values. That's really what consumers are looking for. So what does quality work look like? What does providing quality work consistently look like? And if you think about our day-to-day operations, how do we ensure on a day-to-day basis that we are providing quality work? And remember, this is a leadership-focused discussion we've been having for the last year and a half. So what about for our coworkers and our teammates? How do we ensure we're providing quality work, quality interactions for our coworkers and our teammates? Again, you've heard me say this before during these sessions, that we often get so focused on the external customers that we can forget that all these concepts, apply to our internal customers as well. So how do we do that? How do we provide wow experiences, provide quality work, do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it? When you see it written out and when you say it, it sounds pretty simple. I mean, it kind of is simple. But so why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to do these things consistently? So we're trying to separate ourselves by doing this. The construction world, the home service world, we know it's not very good. So what are some examples? What are some things we can do to create those wow experiences? So let's run through some examples. And some of these you're going to see, you're like, really? That's all? Return calls and emails when promised. So one thing I've learned, and I talk about, I know some in the residential group, we talk about it a good bit, is trying to remember that on a hot summer day, we might have, I don't know how many calls come in, how many email communications, how many online inquiries come in. But that customer only has one thing that they're dealing with. And they really don't care how many of those situations and interactions we're trying to deal with. So if we tell somebody, a classic is, I'll get back to you as soon as possible. What in the world does that mean? So that you might be thinking, no, tomorrow. Well, the sundown rule says it ain't tomorrow. It's by the end of the day today, but that consumer may think different. They may think as soon as possible means 12 minutes flat. So we have to really understand what that means, and we promise communication. Here's an example. Not accepting what a vendor says is the only option. Not leaving a LCM or loyalty club member without heat or cooling. Now, when I say leaving without heat or cooling, I mean in a reasonable amount of time. I can't tell you in residential service how many times we've been told something about a vendor, ask a few more questions, ask a few other people, and guess what? That is not the only option available. I mean, we've even taken parts out of our training units. We've taken one of our training units to be a temporary unit. I mean, my point there is, we live in this world where sometimes the easiest answer is not what it doesn't fit within those guardrails. It can take us out of those guardrails. Show up on time, finish on time. I know in the residential world, I can't really speak for commercial, but I know in the residential world, we get jobs all the time because we're the only ones that show up on time. Whether it's a sales call, whether we return a call, we show up when we say we're going to show up. and then finishing on time. If we tell somebody it's going to take 2 days, let's try to say it's going to take 2 days. If we're going to get to them between 2 and 4, let's try to get to them between 2 and 4. I mean, show up on time, finish on time. So these first 3 are not super big examples of things that are hard. Leave job site better than we found it. I know in residential HVAC, at the end of the job, it would be nice if the only thing that the customer can notice physically that we were there was maybe the new thermostat and the new outdoor unit. There shouldn't really be any other evidence that we had been there for a day or 2 days or 3 days or however long it is, because again, most of our customers aren't going to go into the house with us or go up into the attic with us. So we really want that job site to look better than it was when we found it. I don't know if any of you, I've had some heard about, been told about, and had some not so pleasant experiences with having individuals at my personal house. Clean uniforms, shoe covers, clean and pressed uniforms. Maybe we should have a side class one of these days on how to use an iron. We have a lot of individuals who don't use our cleaning service, our uniform service, and you can tell. Shoe covers, how many times you've been told, oh, you don't worry about that, you don't need to wear those. Floor savers is actually what we need to remember to call them. That's what they are. Believe it or not, guys, we've been doing that for well over 20 years. We've been doing that one. Follow processes, procedures, startup sheets, and checklist. I could spend the next hour talking about this one. So we have process and procedures for a reason. Startup sheets, checklists, they're there to try to make our jobs easier, because I'm just speaking for myself. I can't remember personally all the things that are required to close out a job. I just can't. We have a lot of things that we want to do for that customer. And those startup sheets, job information sheets, we send the proposals out. We're really trying to make sure there is anything missed between what the customer is expecting and what we're going to provide to that customer. And then the checklist and startup sheets are there for a very specific reason, to help us not miss anything. I got news for you. Some of the stuff I've seen done out, and even on our jobs, frankly, oftentimes you can see it's obvious when we have not followed those checklists and not followed those procedures. And listen, our customers are paying us to do this, and that professionalism. And frankly, that's the least we can do, is make sure these units are started up properly. The crawl space is done properly. The roof is put on properly. What the ductwork is installed as per plans, or whatever the case may be. Over communicate. You think they understand? Explain it again. Over communicate. Promise to exceed expectations and over deliver. So this might be the first time I've said a phrase like that here. In the past, you may have heard us say, even myself say, under promise and over deliver. Well, I've come to change my thinking on that. Under promising can leave a customer with really low expectations. And we don't want our customers to have low expectations for the work we're going to be doing, for the interactions. I actually believe we need to promise to exceed expectations and then over deliver beyond that. Because you can get yourself in trouble though if you over promise and under deliver. Man, that can lead to a lot of angst, a lot of issues, a lot of concerns with our customers. Something we do in the summer and in winter both is we can provide temporary units, window units, cooling towers, small electric heaters. We put customers up in hotel rooms, temporary parks. I mentioned we've taken parts off some of our training units before. What else can we do? I think right now we may, at least, I don't know right this moment, but I know this summer, for lots of different reasons, we have installed more temp units, more temporary units, cooling towers, more window units than we probably ever have in the summer. We've bought a few more added to our inventory though is just what can we do when we're waiting on parts, waiting on equipment? What can we do to keep a customer cooling or heating in the meantime? A lot of companies just don't do that. Can't just throw your hands up and say, oh, well. Courtesy and empathy. Try to understand the customer situation and just be nice. Not that hard. Oftentimes we're in a situation where we're either not giving good news to a customer, or they're calling us in a situation where they're not happy. They're hot, they're cold. They got water pouring in their office. I mean, who knows? There's all kinds of situations that they're dealing with that we're not aware of. This is a big one. Offer choices. There are very rarely, when we're trying to solve problems, there's very rarely just one solution. It just doesn't happen where this is the only choice. I think we used to think that, especially in service, but even in service, there's not only one way or one opportunity to solve it, problem for a customer. Ask questions. Remember, try to keep in mind that we're talking about the interaction, not just with our customers, external customer, but also with your coworkers and your teammates. Ask questions, listen to understand as opposed to listening to respond. I know you guys have worked with me personally a long time. Have heard me talk about why I was an average salesman at best was because I listened to respond as opposed to listening to understand. Lead by example. Show others how things are done here at GSM, especially when we have new teammates that come on board. We have a relatively good first few days of orientation process here at GSM. But when those new teammates are released out into their teams, out into the field, into the office, out with the crew on job sites, what happens then? Okay, are we showing by example, whether we're in a truck, on the job site, at a restaurant, at lunch, or, wherever we are we leading and showing, again, especially new teammates, how things are done here at GSM? Read and study. Learn as much as you can about your trade or whatever it is you are doing. If you're relying to get all your training, now let me be clear, one of the big responsibilities here at GSM is to provide all the training and education we can. That is one of our greatest responsibilities. However, if you want to be the best at whatever it is you're doing, if you're 100% relying on us to give you all that information and education, you're probably not going to be the best. That's just the way it is. So read and study and learn as much as you can. And ultimately solve problems. Ultimately, this is what we do each and every day. Every interaction, every question, every customer, we are solving problems. So we're doing all these things. We're creating wow experiences. Ultimately, the whole point of creating wow experiences is to turn our customers into raving fans. So what does that even mean? We want to have the opportunity to turn those customers into a raving fan. So what defines a raving fan? What's different about a raving fan versus just somebody that calls us every now and then? We go for a service call every couple of years, versus a raving fan is someone who is an advocate for us. They're telling others about us. When somebody, their neighbor, their family member, their friend asks, do you know anybody that does this type of work? The first thing out of their mouth, the first thing they think of is GSM. That's the definition of a raving fan. They're also going to give us the benefit of the doubt because they've had so many good experiences with us. They've had so many wow experiences. They're going to give us the benefit of the doubt when maybe we don't return that phone call on time, or we do fall down. So how do we create raving fans? Feels like we live in a world where everything's got to happen quick. What's the phrase? I'm sorry? Microwave society. We have Naomi in here in the back setting me straight on these phrases. So yeah, and actually she does that daily in the residential group, by the way. She's got all the up-to-date phrases and slang for everything. So yeah, microwave society just means everything comes quicker. Another phrase I hear is we like to find hacks. What's the latest health hack? What's the latest exercise hack? Whatever it is that we can do to speed up a process, or speed up learning something, or speed up being good at something. Well, the reality is that's not how it happens. It just doesn't. I like to say, and what I'm talking about here is we create raving fans one conversation or interaction at a time. One conversation and interaction at a time. Following these core values, no one staying inside the guardrails, one interaction and conversation at a time. Again, it'd be great if there was really a easier way to do it. You can't go, customer can't call. If you go out there one time, it would be unusual for that one experience to really create a raving fan. You have to have multiple wow experiences to really create that raving fan. So what are the questions that we're asking when we're making a decision, we're going to have an interaction with a customer, or we have to make a decision about doing something? How do we do that? Here's the questions that I'd like to see us ask. We should be asking questions when we're making decisions about customer interactions. Is what I'm about to do going to improve the experience of our customers and make their lives better? Or is it going to make it worse? Or is it something they're not going to like? Is something they're not going to appreciate? Is this going to make doing business with us easier? Or is it going to make it harder? And guess what? As leaders in the company, pretty much the exact same questions we should be asking the exact same questions when we're, again, remember our goal is to create internal and external raving fans. It's not just external raving fans. So is this going to improve our team members' experience and make their lives better? Is this going to make our team members' jobs easier? Is it going to make it easier for us to deal with our external customers? Is it going to make it easier for our team members to say, hey, tell other people they should come work here? Or is it going to make their jobs harder where they're going to be like, I don't want to tell my friend or my relative or my neighbor that they should come work here? What about, and then just customers, team members, community overall? The last question is this keeping us within our core values, our vision, and our mission? So something I say specifically at orientation when I'm talking with new team members about our core values. I try to be specific and say our core values don't really describe, how we go about, what we're trying to accomplish each and every day. But it gives us guardrails, it gives us guidelines about how we go about our business each and every day, how we interact with others, how our expectations are, what our expectations are for our interactions. So again, it's two different things there about it's more of the how and why as opposed to the what of what we're doing. It is more of how we're wanting us to go about our business each day. But however, I believe if we stay within those guardrails, we follow those core values, everything else is going to take care of itself. If we spend enough focused time understanding that as leaders, showing and living those core values and acting out those core values on a daily basis, showing that example for our new team members, they're going to know that's what the expectation is. So we're going to wrap this up. So think about this as you go about our daily actions, our daily behaviors, our daily interactions. Maybe slow down and ask some of these questions when you have to make a decision on how we're going to interact with a customer. Again, both internal and external. And we're going to keep diving a little deeper. Maybe start the sundown rule is the original, core value. So I think the next session is most likely going to be on September 12th. The first Monday is Labor Day of September. So I didn't ask, but I'm going to assume it's going to be September 12th, which I think would be 3 weeks from today. So look for this, the replay of this to be released tomorrow. And just again, continue to think about how we interact with each other and our customers. I appreciate your time. And let's go out there and continue to serve our customers and our community well. I appreciate it, everybody.